Hello, this is your host Akhil Navluri, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Techo Space podcast series. This podcast episode is super special to me because I'm having the podcast episode, and let's say the Techo Space podcast for the very first time is having a live podcast session in the Microsoft office. And joining me are the two most eminent and prominent industry leaders pertaining to the IT space of the Microsoft company, Mr. Vic Perdana and Mrs. Daphne Choong. Talking about Vic, Vic is a software development company, AppDev Architect of the Asia region, and about Daphne, she's the senior solutions partner, senior partner solutions architect of the software development company pertaining to the Asia region. So, Vic and Daphne, I feel like more than me hosting you both, you are hosting me for this very first episode that I'm having in a live office location. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you and collaborate with you through this medium of my podcast initiative. So how are you both doing, and how are things, and how was your weekend, by the way?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Akil. I appreciate your introduction. Had a really good weekend. Pretty refreshing. Didn't do much, and pretty much just ensuring that ready for the next week ahead. And this is Monday. It's pretty quiet at the moment, but looking forward to the rest of the week.
Yeah, thanks very much, Akil, for having us at your podcast. And my weekend, I had a really good one, recovering from a diving trip through the week. So, yeah, just recovering really and excited for the new week.
That's amazing. I'm pretty happy to know that you both had a very good weekend. And yeah, so keeping the weekend vibes, with a good spirit. Let's start with the podcast episode at the stroke of the hour, which is 11:51 a.m. Melbourne time, and probably I think for Daphne it is 9:30 a.m. Let's say 9:51 a.m. Malaysia time, Kuala Lumpur. Right.
That's right.
So heading on with the first question of the podcast episode. Now, after you, Vic. So, Vic, now let's talk about your journey in the IT industry.
Yeah, it's been probably almost 20 years now. My IT journey started quite humbly. I was a tutor at that time at RMIT, teaching C Sharp and ASP.NET. It was, I think, .NET version 1 framework, 2003, a while back. I was sorry, 2006, sorry. And that was my first taste of sharing knowledge, which later, believe it or not, it's become a big part of my career. From there, I moved to consulting, worked for Accenture, part of their graduate program. I focused on, at that time, it was like visualization, and cloud wasn't even popular at that time. And most kind of companies are trying to build their cloud solutions, their private cloud solutions. So it's interesting to go through those stages. But the consulting years were quite exciting because I work a lot with different stakeholders, and getting, as I built my career, being able to adapt your communications and the way you deal with different people is very valuable until today. And I worked on, data center migration, DevOps was a big thing at that time, and then hybrid cloud adoption was around infrastructure. And I was, because my first paid job was Unix admin. It was pretty interesting. Didn't learn a lot about, I did learn about Linux and so on, but, being able to adopt it in real world with Sun Solaris at that time was pretty cool. And fast forward to my time now at Microsoft, I started off as a PFE, or Premier Field Engineer. So working with customers to optimize the Azure environments, kind of the big thing. And one of the things that I worked with was a big sort of neobank in Sydney. It was pretty interesting as well, and because it cemented my confidence in kind of large scale sort of cloud problem solving. And today, as an app dev architect, I work with ISVs across NZ and Asia. to help them adopt AI and build SaaS and innovate faster on Azure.
That's a complete plethora of experience. I mean, like a huge ride, from a tutor to Linux to Unix, and then, to DevOps and now to Microsoft. Wow, that speaks loads and loads of your experience, Vic, for sure. Now, heading on to you, Daphne. So, Daphne, why don't you tell about your journey and how did you start in the IT industry?
Sure. So my IT industry journey started over 2 decades ago at Monash University, Melbourne. That's where I got my bachelor in computer science degree. After graduating, I got my first job as a .NET programmer at a marine coastal engineering company in Melbourne. And after that, I migrated to the UK, where I landed a job as a software engineer at a company called multimap.com, which does online mapping. And at that company, I was working with open source technologies like Perl, PHP, MySQL, and PostgreSQL. And Multimap, this company, later got acquired by Microsoft. And that was the first time I worked for Microsoft between 2008 and 2011. And since then, I had been in various roles, contracting, running my own company, and also a stint as CTO at a e-commerce logistic tech company. I also co-founded my company called Data Smart, consulting in AI and blockchain solutions, and also teaching kids to learn how to code. And now I work for Microsoft. It has been 5 years, and I have always been working with Microsoft partners in the field. And ever since then, I've been working closely with these partners to integrate their solutions with Microsoft Azure Cloud and our various Office suites and Dynamics CRM. So that's my journey so far.
That's amazing, Daphne. So, Daphne, in simple words, if I have to, summarize your journey, it's more like, a ride from .NET technologies all the way to being a CTO, which is really remarkable.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. So now, Vic, I just wanted to understand this from you. Would you like to, shed some spotlight of your tenure, let's say, being the software development app dev architect pertaining to the Asia region?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Asia, and before this, I was in ANZ as well. So in a way, it's quite similar, except that the territory, I guess, the target segments and the target customers are now focused on Asia. But my role is all about working with ISVs or software development companies across Asia. So we help them not just adopt cloud technologies, but really think about how we infuse AI into their products. So it's a bit different than customer world. Before my gig working with partners, in the customer world, you focus on the internals and potentially kind of enterprise settings where you need to deal with a lot of stakeholders internally. Whereas with SaaS and product companies, we need to design our system to be multi-tenanted. That's kind of the main gist of my role. Multi-tenant means being able to, like design a system like, if you use Office 365 or Microsoft 365, you'll see that there's a bunch of users, a bunch of customers, and a bunch of organizations that are using it, and you need to design it that way. So yeah, basically, that's kind of the main characteristics of my current role. Integrating Azure and AI and also GitHub into workflows. I work a lot with developers, obviously, to ensure that they can scale their product securely. It is such a big thing in product companies. Is the the kind of the overall landscape of competitors, right? It's very competitive in this segment, and being able to put out features as fast as possible and as secure as possible is really important. But a big part of my day-to-day is running architecture design, proof of concepts, and also coding with or some sort of POCs workshops with partners. And what I love is seeing impact, right? So One partner that I work with is a traditional kind of SaaS model partner. They basically build a quiz to help shoppers to be able to choose the right product. Just imagine if you go to online stores, there's a bunch of products that if you want to buy like a TV or a pram even, you have to select which ones, and there's plethora of options. And being able to change the experience from a static quiz into a kind of natural interaction with AI is such a rewarding sort of experience where you can really make organization a partner to pivot their strategy completely from non-AI to AI, and they launch products. They're able to not only survive but also thrive in the market.
That's a fantastic insight on that, Vic. Now, Vic, earlier, like before we actually were talking about this conversation, you just gave me, a hint stating that you worked even in the ISDev, let's say, as an ISDev architect pertaining to the ANZ region. So, if I have to combine these two tenures of yours, what is the key differentiating factor, or let's say, the similarities that you find between the two?
Yeah, so as I said, it's more around kind of the target segment, right? So Asia versus NZ, the roles are quite the same. Typically with NZ kind of region, so basically different customers that you have. But if I have to kind of strike kind of differences between ANZ versus Asia, I feel like Asia is where a lot of companies are starting to really push the boundaries on. And interestingly, there's a bit of a, kind of, I don't know, maybe it's an anecdotal, but there's some stats that, if you try to infuse, say, new technological change like AI, a lot of the developed countries already got a lot of processes built in. So it's very hard to kind of affect the changes on against those rigid processes. For example, if you work with supply chain companies or logistical company, they got a lot of these steps that are already built in. And in the developed countries, those steps are even more defined. Therefore, the opportunities of AI, well, it's great. They don't. There's a bit of a hesitancy or resistance around adopting those changes. Whereas if you go to kind of developing countries in Asia, there's a lot of it in ASEAN, particularly. It's quite amazing that a lot of companies are seeing it as kind of equalization opportunity. So you think about like going to, maybe Sri Lanka or some other countries, you see there's a lot of farmers and so on, and they haven't been exposed to processes and technologies, and then they see AI as that opportunity for them to be able to scale their produce and product and so on. So that's quite exciting, and I feel that Asia has a lot of opportunities ahead.
I wish for the same probably in the future sometime. I mean, that was a very good point, actually. Example given, you were just narrating me the example of farmers in Sri Lanka and their understanding with respect to AI. It's pretty early to talk about it. And firstly, if for them to understand about AI, they need to first get trained into that, and probably training will take a couple of years. And then for them to get adapted to that particular technology or to that framework, it'll probably take a decade or so. Let-
100%, 100%. And the thing it was, farmers with AI, they don't actually have to learn about kind of all these, I guess boundaries around process from step A, step B, step C, because AI kind of abstracted all of that. They'll be able to, decide their intent and help AI to kind of unblock and package all of these processes built in within that, making it easy for farmers to see, hey, when's the next harvest? What do I do to ensure that I have kind of the right, soil and irrigation and so on. But yeah, it's an interesting time to be in at the moment. Yeah.
Absolutely interesting times for sure. Now, off to you, Daphne. So, Daphne, tell me about this. Like, what are your roles and responsibilities as a senior partner solutions architect of the software development companies pertaining mainly to the Asia region?
Yeah. So my role is pretty much similar to Vic's role. And in fact, we are team members of the same team. And we cover the entire Asia region, which is a huge area, to be honest. But what gives us the insight is how these companies all have the same ambition, which is to grow their business outside of their home country and to be globally successful. And this is where a company like Microsoft can really support these companies to grow their business because we do have customers everywhere, whether it's in ANZ, Singapore, Malaysia, ASEAN, Japan, or Korea, and even as far as India, China, and Europe, and US, Canada, that sort of places. And what I also learned recently is how quickly AI has been uh, developing. AI technology has been developing, um, and this make a lot of changes even within Microsoft itself. We have new products that are rolled out almost every week, right? And new capabilities and improvement to our existing stack. And our job, Vic and I, also includes to educate our partners about all these new technologies, how they can use it to their advantage. Because AI is developing so quickly, our partners really benefit by being agile and adopting this kind of technology, and that allows them to be at the forefront in this area. What's interesting is like the way AI is uh, democratizing this opportunity for everyone. I think Vic already mentioned a bit about this. For example, like there are a lot of Asian companies who are not naturally very good in English. But what Gen AI is able to help them do is develop all these new capabilities in their software. For example, like one of our partners based out of actually their developers are all in Australia, but their HQ is in Asia. And the company's name called Open Learning, and they develop education software. And they found that the adoption rate after they've integrated Gen AI and Microsoft OpenAI technology, the adoption of their software in the ASEAN region, for example, Philippines, Indonesia, has been really, really quick because these universities in these countries are able to use Gen AI to develop new modules for their university very quickly. And these are surprising things that we didn't realize how AI is really helping these kind of companies expand into countries where they have traditionally been struggling.
That's a perfect example, and it's a good insight on that. Now, Daphne, I'm super interested, or let's say curious, to ask you this. You just gave me an example where you just told me that there are certain Asian countries who are a little bit, not very comfortable with the perspective of English. So, is AI, coming into this frame where it is actually translating their work, let's say, on the basic steps, like creating frameworks for them, or let's say doing some kind of a documentation. Like, how is AI traversing here?
Oh, yeah. In so many ways, AI is really helping. And one very stark example that we can cite is GitHub and GitHub Copilot. I think Vic already mentioned a little bit about this. How developers who traditionally are not native English speakers, historically, you find that they have to struggle a bit more to learn programming languages when the English is not their native language. However, nowadays you can see how, with the help of AI and technologies like GitHub Copilot, which allows you to use natural language, just prompting the AI, and you can do vibe coding. And uh, this kind of AI assisted technology really help in terms of the speed of coding, speed of learning a new language, a new framework, uh, even developing products, coding, as well as generating documentation, writing unit tests, regression tests, and even automating some of the vulnerability scan on your code base. All these are really sped up when you use a product like GitHub Copilot in your development team. So much so that you can maintain your small size of engineers, but your productivity can be, you know, 4 times, 6 times, or even 10 times. Some companies are citing that they have find that it's so much more productive using GitHub Copilot.
That's an amazing example, Daphne. So that's pretty much good to talk about. So, Daphne, you just gave me an example, or let's say, about your roles and responsibilities. Now, I would like to talk about your passion. So, passion, where I'm just trying to correlate the examples of, let's say, the ESG, the sustainability factors, the cybersecurity, and let's say, the innovative technologies. So, how do you categorize all four of them together?
Yeah, I think um, sustainability and ESG are really essential nowadays for any companies to think about, and it's no longer optional. And in this era of AI and cybersecurity, I think it's very important for companies also to bake in this kind of framework early on in their developing process to make sure that their solutions are always secure and resilient. And these are very important to consider so that um, their solution doesn't end up going into production with security issues. And that's just very expensive to remediate once it goes into production. So I always believe in um, thinking about sustainability as well as cybersecurity in the beginning of your product development process, and always helping partners to secure by design their solution and build resilient systems along the way. And about accessibility, I think this is something close to my heart. I believe that building in accessibility in your apps will enable everyone, not just people with disability, but also people like you and I, more easily use your products um, and really increase the wide adoption and appeal of your products. A very simple example is like if you just turn on captioning or easily enabling this feature in your software products and making sure that all the navigation is easily accessible, then it helps variety sort of people to use your products, even though they are partially sighted or they are temporarily disabled, like they just hurt their finger or their hands and unable to use the traditional mouse navigation. So this kind of consideration when you're building your software can really make a difference in the wide appeal of your product in production.
That's amazing, Daphne. Now, Daphne, instead of bombarding you with too many questions, I will like to take the view from Vic as well. So, Vic, what's your point of view on this particular aspect?
Yeah, so I just want to add a couple of things in there. Maybe you know, with regards to non-profits and elevating kind of students in the era of AI. It's important to get the kind of distribution of AI sort of insights and learnings as widely as possible. So we announced, I think Microsoft announced a $4 billion sort of investment for the next 5 years that is going to be focused on supporting schools, community and technical colleges and nonprofits worldwide. So a lot of what Daphne was sort of saying around accessibility and making sure that AI is built responsibly is it's going to be core as part of this program, right? So it's a broader modernization around kind of our efforts, bringing together those tech for social impact under that one umbrella, and it's going to be really interesting to see, what this, program and this initiative going to bring, because that program actually aims to help 20 million people on AI skills and credentials, in the next 5 years. And I'm very keen to understand, to find out what it's going to bring. I'm sure that a lot of what we talk about AI is not just the technology. It's not just kind of the advancements and being able to make as much money as possible, but also equalization opportunity, right? Bringing that social benefits. Even Satya actually mentioned that, we need to justify our spend on AI. The amount of electricity that we have, that we've actually spent, will need to be justifiable, by the net benefit that it brings to the society. So that's really really important to highlight. And accessibility is such a important tenet when we talk about AI. Yeah.
That's exactly a right point to be brought about. Yes, I mean, you know, cost is the major thing that we need to talk about. We know that the AI has a strength, and where it can be adaptable and what's its capability. But more than that, we need to understand what is the cost structure based on that, and how well people are able to adapt it, and how well they're able to sync with that technology from their point of view. Then I think probably that's a pretty much let's say an answered question for me from both your ends.
Yeah.
Now, Vic, I'm pretty much keen to ask this from your end. Like, Vic, what has been your contribution towards these open source projects? And when it talks about open source projects, I really want to know more about it.
Yeah, for sure. Open source has been a huge part of my career. And there is a term called OSS, right? So open source software. And within open source software, there's a different, I guess, classification, on the level of openness in your software. And one of the most kind of common examples is MIT license, where there's almost no restrictions to that. You need to go to the details to find out, but it really, there's no guarantee, there's no warranty, but it kind of gives you almost unrestricted ability to modify and change, kind of the software for your own benefits, right? Whether that's profit, for non-profit, and everything else. And you have different licensing models as well within open source, that allows you to kind of use, but you have to contribute back to open source, that type of thing. So there's a lot of that stuff. But the reason I like about open source, I think when we talk about, that contribution to society, I really like, have that, ability or platform to be able to give back, because we get a lot of, we get to experience quite privileged things working, with at a company right now, where we deal with a lot of large organizations, and we also tremendously gain benefits on kind of the learnings, the experiences that we had, but others may not have have similar experiences or have similar benefits. So being able to kind of give back via the use of open source is such a rewarding thing for me. Um, Another thing that I see open source, why I actually do that, is it's not really just solving kind of that give back problem, but also being able to share, and at the same time you kind of learn what others think about your learning, right? It doesn't have to be kind of software, right? So it can be kind of insights or blogs or anything like that. So it's good to be able to share that, and being able to put things in writing. It's such and something like perpetually available to others, to be able to see, hey, here's my work, and here's what I shared to people. So that's good to do that. It's such a kind of interesting habit to build. And I have a bit of a motto on my own, like that I follow, is to start with learning. So learning is always kind of the starting point for me, and then you experiment or build, and then finally you share. So I do that: learn, build, share, and repeat. So that's kind of my motto, if you will, to basically start with that, and then being able to get back to the community and just continually doing that, because that's where you kind of grow. Recently, I worked with kind of, I mentioned about that retail company. So one of the things that I do as part of my job is really doing more showing rather than telling, right? So being able to kind of solve something for your partner or your ISVs, but also kind of build something to show them how it looks like. It really ensures that they're see what's the art of the possible. So that's really important when we talk about kind of convincing new technology or new experiences, especially as famous, as hype as AI. To be able to ground that in the business context is important. And recently, I worked with a semantic kernel, which was kind of the open source project that we have at Microsoft. That again is open, so anyone can contribute and take a look at that project. And the good thing about it is building kind of ability for customers and partners to be able to, I guess, tailor their experiences with AI. So they got a business process, want to make sure that it's grounded on their business process, because you know that with LLM, with Gen AI, it's prone to hallucination. It's prone to a few things that they may not be relevant. So it's important to kind of get that grounded. So yeah, build something along those lines. So I had project, a spy shop, semantic kernel initially, how you can, agentic AI can power shopping experiences, and then recently as well, blog conversion service from a video, a semantic clip, which is something that I just showed, that how you can actually build from one kind of step to another step and then move on to the next step, and really grounded that experience. So yeah, that's and it's amazing to see your work used by people. I think it's something that I've really gained a lot of satisfaction from.
That's pretty amazing, Vic. Vic, more than anything, that actually caught my eye was your motto. Really, really, that was so effective. And probably I need to, you use it for myself, because I'm a data science student myself, and there are a lot of things and a lot of projects that I'll also be involved with, and let's say with my assignments. So this is a pretty good hack that you have given me, and probably our listeners also would resonate with that for sure.
100%. I learned that from Scott Hanselman. Obviously, probably don't know Scott Hanselman, but he's our VP for developer relations. And he basically said that, your experience is yours. It's your IP. Doesn't matter whether you actually learn maybe one page in a document, but if you don't share it, it just, constrained within your knowledge. But if you share it and get other people to take advantage of it, they may benefit from it. It's such a great thing. And he's always big on community as well.
They are true golden words from what he has told, seriously.
100%.
All right, that's brilliant. Now, Daphne, I just wanted to understand this from your end. Like I was just talking about the passion that you had. Like now, if I would just like to go a little bit deep, talking about your expertise, like how would you explain about it? Like for example, let's say the Azure Open AI, or let's say the cloud architecture, and along with that, the Microsoft Azure. So, what's your experience? Let's say expertise been on these lines.
Yeah. So with Microsoft, we have very good tools available for anyone who wants to build their AI quickly. So we have very strong partnership with OpenAI. As you probably already know, we have large investments early in their um, journey, and that together with the computing resources that Microsoft have invested in the company, means that OpenAI could train their large language models very quickly and go to market and innovate very quickly. So with this tight collaboration, we are able to offer to all our customers and partners Azure OpenAI, which is all available on our cloud platform. And we also have the Azure AI Foundry, which is a very easy tool where you can build your AI solutions on. So very easily, very quickly, even within like 5 to 20 minutes, you can build a chatbot with any of the language models that you like, whether it's OpenAI, the top release models like what we have now is you know O3 and then O5, these kind of like very up-to-date models. We also have a lot of open source models. We have MetaLlama models, and we have our own models like 5.3. So you can experiment with all these different models, all in the same platform, which is Azure AI Foundry. You can even integrate things like OCR, like facial recognition, um, identifying like speech to text, text to speech, and also like video processing, AI capabilities, all can be easily experimented within AI Foundry. And then after you're happy with fine tuning this kind of AI capabilities, you can easily publish your solution. So these are some of the tools that we have, but increasingly, I think Vic also mentioned, we have agentic AI, agent to agent architecture, and all this. We, uh, our team will encourage our partners to build their solution and surface to the market through our agent store. And this allows other customers to easily discover the agents that they have built and use it in their end-to-end solution. Um, so these are the things. There are so many things that we have to learn as part of this role, which is our partner solution architect. And AI is such a huge focus in the recent years, and there's so much to learn, and I cannot do that on my own, so I do rely on all my colleagues, including Vic. We learn together, we experiment together, we try to educate our partners in uh, different ways, creative ways, like maybe having a webinar series, especially about security in their solution, that sort of things. It both allow me to learn a lot faster as well, and also uh, amplify our impact together, so that our partners can also benefit from all the things that we are learning day to day.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to add a little bit with what Daphne said. Um, we live in this era where things move not only fast, but they just, that the changes and the amount of changes that re- today it's a standard, the next day it's the old standard, right? Um, and learning is such a key thing in our role. We even have a kind of a kind of learning day, if you will. So every week or so, every Friday, whichever it is, if you want to dedicate yourself for learning, we are able to do that, which is quite privileged. Um, and more importantly, we are learning together as a team. And some of the learnings that we do actually um, in the same pace as our kind of engineering team, right? Before kind of this whole AI thing became reality, was that a lot of engineering team kind of work on a cycle, maybe a yearly cycle where they do updates, on their next product or the next version. They can't do that anymore. They can't set the pace because a lot of the work are now done by community. So you can see that in open source projects and stuff, how people make kind of changes on the recent standards. For example, a model context protocol is such an open thing, and everyone is learning together. So it's such a interesting paradigm shift that we're seeing now in the whole kind of learning community.
Absolutely, Vic. That's a complete, let's say, an eye opener for me. And yes, Daphne, the insights that you have given, they were pretty much, effective. Now, Daphne and Vic, I'll ask a question to both of you. So, I'm a data scientist by, my practice now, by my mastery. So I just wanted to ask you, like, since I'm a data scientist and we always talk about data and data. So when it comes to the AI Foundry, I just wanted to understand, like, how are you able to create your own AI solutions? Like, how are you able to, get the databases for that? What is the source of,
Hmm.
getting the database and linking that with the AI solutions that you're creating?
Cool. Daphne, do you want to pick this one or want me to do it first?
Um, I can talk about Fabric. So Fabric is another of our tool which has gained a lot of attention from our product engineers and also a lot of adoption from our customers lately. And it's an end-to-end one lake solution for our customers where you can ingest your data very easily, do any kind of data manipulation or cleaning that you want, and also apply any AI or ML models on your data before surfacing it out to your end customer or your business stakeholders in terms of Power BI visualization, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of capabilities being built on within Fabric, and this is one of the enterprise solution for our data scientists uh, sort of needs. But I think, Vic, maybe you may have other things to add.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Fabric is core at our kind of data narrative, right? So that's where, if you think about what exactly what Daphne mentioned, um, basically data on tap, right? So if you need certain compute in order for you to scale, you really pay for what you use, and that's basically the SaaS um, kind of model that we have for data. Whereas in the past, you have to kind of do a lot of kind of thinking around kind of capacity and compute and so on. But there's still some parts of it that you need to do, but it's a lot less. But yeah, on the Foundry side of things, say if you want to build an agent, right? Um, and by the way, probably need to level set what the definition of agent is, right? Um, when you go to ChatGPT or Copilot, hopefully you guys use Copilot as well, is that you ask a question and then you get an answer, and that's a one-off sort of interaction. And we sort of categorize that as an assistant, right? So it's helpful, it's useful for you to get that kind of in the moment assistant. Whereas with an agent, it actually brings that concept one step further, in that it remembers, right, your previous context and previous conversation, and it can also do more, as in like it can do actions. For example, I want to book, my flights, or I want to organize, my trip next week, and then it can do all of these various, research, on not only giving you the, what the itinerary should be, but also making those booking for you. So that's in a way what an agent is, right? So it interacts with the real world, understanding context, and it's useful, right? And if you want to build it in Foundry, you can build it in many ways. But one of the things that you use in Foundry, we do have a Foundry agent service, which allows you to kind of build agent in a PaaS environment, so platform as a service. You don't have to manage the agent. You don't have to manage kind of the memory, the monitoring, and all that stuff. So you just go and you ask about data. It can be connected to different knowledge sources or data sources. So it can, for example, you building an agent that kind of do maybe booking management, right? So it may store some files in your preferences, so you can use kind of data stores like storage accounts. It can also talk to APIs. So, for example, to trip.com or whatever websites that you want, and then to find the right flight bookings and all that stuff, and it will store that information inside of your environment. But if you've got an existing kind of data sources, you can actually just interact with our data sources like databases as well, and then have that connected. And it will be, basically the end experience. It can be an API, or it can also be UI or UX that allows you to interact with it like a chatbot. But it's a lot more capable than a chatbot, right? So yeah, that's just in a nutshell what you can do with that, and there's a lot more that you can do. In fact, Daphne did amazing kind of partnership with one of our partners that got featured in Build that talks about integration with insurance. So that's pretty cool use case as well, and that's available in Foundry.
What I can say is a lot of interesting things in the IT world which is going to come. AI agents is such a revolutionary thing that's just that has come about, and there's a lot of interesting things that can be talked about more.
100%. I mean, you saw this bunch of announcements. GPT-5 recently got released, right? And we also talk about agent that can interact with your computers. So this will unlock a lot of integration opportunities. Just think about old systems, legacy systems that don't have APIs, don't have CLIs. It's just UI. You can automate that with, as a computer use agent, right? So it can interact on your behalf, access different computers, and kind of do the clicking for you, which is crazy. And there was a time, I think, someone actually just kind of shared their experience. Hey, I wanted to order pizza. This is actually not humans that's ordering it. It's actually an agent. And that was interesting experience because you basically just provide the intent, and then someone does it for you, and then you suddenly get a ring bell on your doorstep that someone has actually got the pizza for you. You set the budget, you set the what kind of pizza you want, and then it will just search for kind of the best selling pizza around the area, which is very, very interesting. But I find this whole thing will unlock a lot of possibilities. What excites me the most is really the amount of kind of things that are seemingly not possible before now will become possible. So, and one of the things that I think Sam Altman actually mentioned that all of this UI and UX sort of user experience, the computers that we have effectively got the same thing for the past 40 years. Keyboard, mouse, right? That apparently is not designed or not native to AI. So there's a lot of opportunities for us now to kind of rewrite that experience and level set that experience to make sure that it's AI compatible, quote unquote. And even who is this? Andre Karpathy in Y Combinator's speech actually mentioned that it's now we are moving to software 3.0, not 2.0 anymore, but 3.0, which is very cool. So software is changing again, and there's a lot of opportunities for us to rewrite that software. So we are in MS-DOS moment of AI. For one people, like few people actually said so, and we're in the chunky laptop moment. There's a lot of these opportunities that will be made available to us, and someone like yourself, Akil, it's going to be ripe for opportunities because all these graduates that are coming out of the universities are pretty much native into this experience. They don't have any baggage that they learn like we do. We have a lot of things to unlearn, whereas kind of new graduates has a lot of those new and native experiences that will be interesting. So yeah, to see what you guys come up with.
Absolutely, fingers crossed. All right then. So Vic, I'm keen to understand this from your end. Like, what is your overview of, let's say, the community leadership development? How would you like to, share this experience with me and our listeners who are listening to this podcast episode?
Yeah. So again, going back to my motto of kind of learn, build, share. I just feel like community is important to any kind of new meaningful change. So when I sort of help the semantic kernel community, there's a lot of people wanting to build agents, and the tooling wasn't there. But with the help of community, and despite all the duct tapes and everything else that we have to do to be able to come up with a solution, working together as a community will basically gain kind of a lot of benefits and net benefits for everyone. And I just love kind of the problem domains that people kind of bring. Hey, we haven't really thought about that. So we, as kind of Microsoft and the project maintainers, also learn from the community. So if I have kind of a tip, is really just ensure that if you've got some interest or some passions in certain things, just make sure that you talk to the people that are interested in those topics and share what excites you the most and learn together from others. You'll be surprised what you actually learn, despite all the kind of hours that you put in. For example, you learn about data in machine learning, intelligence, all that stuff. If you go to community, there's a lot of other people that are also learning that, and you'll find that despite the hours that you put in, because of the universities and so on, that you kind of the catalog of learning that you have to do, you still be surprised that you get new things to learn. So yeah, I feel like community is such a important thing.
That's absolutely well said, Vic. Now, before we actually, conclude our podcast session, so I will just, I mean, take a final question to Daphne. So, Daphne, all this while you were just talking about your expertise and passion. Now, I wanted to understand this from your end. Like, what is your inclination towards, empowering women in the tech industry, and along with that, mentoring people for, the mentorship enablement program in Microsoft, and also mentoring female students and especially mentoring children.
Yeah, I totally agree with Vic in terms of giving back to the community. That's one my way also, because I have gained so much early in my career through communities like Women in Technology. So nowadays, I get involved in communities like Pi Ladies, which is um, also contributing to PyCon Malaysia happening in November 1st and 2nd. So, for example, actually, you're passionate in data science. I think a community like PyCon is where you'll find a lot of like minded people, a lot of data scientists, data analysts go to conferences like this because Python is such a strong language in terms of machine language and also data scientists. So yeah, I have co-founded the Pilates Kuala Lumpur chapter earlier this year with a few of my friends, and that's where we can discuss, technology together, geeking out together, and also volunteering in conferences, for example. And the Microsoft Enabler program is basically a program by Microsoft to have a outreach to people with disability, and what we do is, for example, provide series of mentorship opportunities as well as technical learning workshop for these people with disability all around ASEAN. We have different partners to reach out to who bring the community of people with disability to learn technologies with us, as well as get mentorship from us. So as part of that, I am also the ASEAN Disability Co-Lead for Microsoft. And together with the rest of my team, we try our best to raise awareness of accessible tech and further the company's vision to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more.
That's an amazing, piece of initiative that you're coming up with, Daphne. It's pretty inspirational, and whatever Vic that you also told about, giving back to the society is always important. Like what you do, finally, it's our turn to, turn it, to return it to the society with our learnings and with our experience. So that's a pretty good insight on that. So we can, Daphne, before we actually conclude, or let's say set the curtain down for the podcast episode for today, let's take a lighter route in the form of a rapid fire round. So a very quick rapid fire round to both of you. So we're not going to talk anything technical or AI or anything about cloud. It's just going to be your let's say your likes and your personal interests, which I would just like to ask it to both of you.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
So, firstly, heading on to Vic. So, Vic, I'm pretty much keen to ask you this. Like, what is your favorite sports team?
Oh, interesting. Interestingly, I love soccer. Before I kind of migrated to Australia, I supported this club, Italian club called Roma. I think they're still pretty good in Italy. So yeah, Series A league. I love the player. You probably shown my age. I love the player Francesco Totti at that time. It was
Yeah.
amazing. And Gabriel Batistuta was like it's the most amazing players I see, and I still hope that I can, if I play games and so on, I still wanting to see if I can get access to those players.
Awesome. Probably your dream can come true on that weekend. Talking about AS Roma, they're a very good team, and they have won recently the UEFA, let's say the Conference League. So that's a pretty big achievement for them.
Absolutely. I didn't follow recently. I'm pretty bad, sort of not pretty loyal follower now, because we don't get a lot of those shows in Australia. So, but yeah, I sort of pivoted to tennis, but now don't really follow that anymore. We've got small kids at play at the moment. So yeah, thank you.
All right, then that's pretty interesting. So Daphne, up to you. What's your favorite sports team?
I do enjoy running and swimming. So I recently completed a full marathon in July, which I have been training for months. It was very difficult, but I managed to complete it in 7 hours, 11 minutes.
Definitely is our sportsman in the sport woman in the team.
I,
Okay,
I wouldn't say so, but yeah, I do enjoy running.
that's amazing to know, Daphne. Now, Vic. Now, since you've been, based in Melbourne for a long time, so what is that thing of Melbourne that attracts you the most?
Interesting. So when I moved, or when I did come to Australia, was due to student exchange a while back when I was in high school. And I first didn't come to Melbourne. I first came to a small city called Swan Hill, pretty far from here, about 5 hours. I didn't really like anything about that city, unfortunately, because it's so different, far away from everywhere. But enjoyed kind of doing shooting wallabies and so on at that time. Living with family, it was really fun. Um, but I moved to they before I went back to my country at that time. We went to Melbourne as a stop visit, and so on. Very short visit. I really love kind of the architectural buildings around the city. So I went to the city, Collins Street or something, so near the church. It's I love the mix between European heritage culture and kind of modern aspect in Federation Square and so on. There's a bit of a interesting sort of vibe to it. So yeah, that's what I love most about Melbourne, and that's why I fell in love and wanting to study straight away. I didn't do national exam in my country at that time, and then I just skipped straight away and then went to uni here. So pretty. It turned out to be okay. So yeah.
A safe bet, I would say for sure. All right. Now, Daphne, since I've also visited Kuala Lumpur myself, but I wanted to ask it from your end since you're based in KL. So, what is that fact of KL that that attracts you the most?
My family is here, that's why I'm here. But apart from that, I feel like Kuala Lumpur itself is a um, very tolerant place. We can have multicultural events here, and people of any races can live and work here. And everything is just very easygoing. Nothing is too much of a problem. And I also see a huge opportunity, not just here in Malaysia, but here in the Southeast Asia region for growth. So there's so much room to expand, whether it's in technology or in business. Um, so I feel like it's quite a vibrant city to be in at the moment. And it's very near to Singapore and Bangkok and Jakarta. So it's fairly easy to travel around.
Absolutely, absolutely. That completely, gives me the idea on that for sure. Now, Vic, like if I would just like to ask you this, like, what is your favorite Indian dish? what would you tell it would be?
Oh, Indian. I went to Indian once, to Hyderabad. Classic, butter chicken. I have I have to say it's amazing. I have to go and try kind of the mango drink. I don't know what it's called. Is it lassi or something? Yeah, lassi or something. Yeah, and it's quite sweet, but I really like, when I didn't have when I had like big exercise or something. Yeah, it's going to be really good sugar boost for me. But yeah, butter chicken and lassi. I think I love that. Yeah.
Coincidentally, Vic, I come from Hyderabad myself.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Yeah, yeah. I've been to the museum,
Okay.
Old Town. I was stuck there for like hours waiting for a cab. I didn't realize that it's very hard to get a cab over there. So luckily I did get one. So
At times it's very easy to get the cab, but at times it's really, really hard to get the cab by when there's too much rush.
yes, yes, 100%. I have to plan it better next time.
Indeed, indeed. So, Daphne, now asking you, what's your favorite Indian dish that you always like to try?
Um, I in Malaysia we have this thing called roti canai, which is like a prata, and then it gets served with dal and various curries. I really like that, and I also like dosa, which comes with chutney, and that sort of thing. So I love those.
Nice, nice. That's a pretty good combination. Now, final question to you, Vic. What is your favorite holiday destination that you will, like to travel the most?
Um, it's interesting. As in, like, I have visited or I haven't visited.
You can just give me the examples of which you have visited and which you want to visit.
Right. I have visited kind of many places, but if I have to kind of set my choice, probably, going to, because I'm from Indonesia, right? So originally, I love to go to a neighboring island in Bali called Lombok, which is a pretty like an hour sort of, I think, with the boat. I heard, and I haven't been there. I've been to Bali, and I love the place. But if I have to choose, if I can go to the neighboring island, I think it would be exciting. It's just really value for money, really, over there, and you can get anything, everything, and if you want to go kind of similar stuff that you want in Australia, a lot of Aussies anyway over there. So it's like having to go to, like, Brisbane or something is quite a similar experience in a way, except it's hotter, cheaper, and more value. Value for money is greater over there. And if I want to go somewhere, I would love to be able to visit somewhere in Middle East. I want to visit somewhere kind of Dubai. I heard Dubai is quite interesting. Obviously Europe would be awesome, but if you go to Middle East, you can go and make stopovers to around kind of the area, and then go to Europe as well. So yeah, it's not one place. It's probably going to be like multiple places, and I would love to be able to just do a stopovers along the route around Middle East, European kind of areas, like, what do you call it? Italy, kind of the old cities and so on. I think I love those. Any city that has heritage, has old kind of culture. Love to be able to see that in flash.
Awesome, that's pretty good. And Vic, if you go to Bali, don't be surprised to see Indians because our people, without telling, their go-to location is Bali.
Yeah. Everywhere, everyone is. I can see everyone in Bali. So yeah, almost all kind of origins and so on. Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
perfect. So the same question to you, Daphne. Like, what is your favorite? What is your go-to holiday destination?
Within Malaysia itself, I really like going to Malacca, which is 1 to 2 hours drive from Kuala Lumpur. It's very easygoing. You can get very nice food and just like a chill city break. But in terms of countries, I really like going to Tokyo. I have many friends there, and it's a very exciting city. Lots to do, lots to see. But I haven't been to Korea, and so I really would like to visit Korea one day. Seoul, Jeju Island. I heard that it's so beautiful there, so I'd like to go there one day.
Amazing.
Absolutely, they're pretty good holiday destinations. I mean, that's a pretty good list. I mean, Jeju Island, even I've heard about it. And Japan and Korea are always like on the top of my list, but let's see when I would, fulfill that. Perfect. That's pretty good. So, Weekend, Daphne, once again, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule and inviting me to to the Microsoft office and hosting me. I mean, it's actually like let's say like a mutual kind of a thing. I'm hosting you people in for my TechoSpace podcast initiative, and you're hosting me in your office. So, thank you so much, and for having me here. And it was such a great time conversing with you, talking about different aspects about the cloud architecture, about AI, about your tenure, and about the final thing, like you have to give it back to the society, and that was pretty inspirational. So thank you once again, and it was such a great conversation throughout.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for having us.
All right. So, listeners, on this note, this is your host, Akhil Lavluri, signing off. We would be back with another podcast episode with another eminent industry leader very soon. Till then, keep listening. Take care. Goodbye. Stay tuned. And over. Thank you.